Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today's book review is on The Roads We Follow by Janine Rosche. So this book is about Jade, and she was a financial advisor. Well, come to find out, her fiance was stealing millions of dollars from their clients, and she had no idea. So he is put in jail, and she thankfully was not put in jail because she had no idea what was going on. So she ends up going with one of their last clients, Benny, which is a nickname for the woman she's with, as well as her foster son, Bridger. And so they are traveling Route 66 across the country to film a documentary to kind of try to get Benny back some of the funds that she lost in that scam. And so they kind of have, trust issues with Jade, but Benny's like, I've known her for a while now. Like, I know she wouldn't do this on purpose. So they kind of take her along for the ride to try to make restitutions for that. And they're following Route 66 and the different stops that Benny and her past husband drove during their trip to California to become movie stars. And so we're following actually 3 different timelines in this story, which it was confusing in the beginning, but it did become easier to follow as the story went on, and each of the storylines were important to the story as a whole. We're following Benny and her husband Paul on their Route 66 travels to California, what was going on with them, how they fell in love and everything. It was a really sweet story. That honestly was probably my favorite storyline. Then we're following 2 different storylines of the character of Jade. We're following her as a young girl with her father, and then we're following her as an adult and kind of the situations that happened to her as a child and how they shaped her as an adult. And I do want to say I really loved the character of Jade. I think she's probably my favorite. No, Benny. Benny, honestly, I loved her character. I loved how much, she was so new to the world around her during, I think it was, 1960s? 1956. So we're following, Black rights during that time, how everything was still segregated during that time. And so they're following the Route 66 and seeing all these different things that she really had no experience with. So she's with Paul, and they end up running into all of these different problems, but just the courage that God gave her to go through that journey with Paul. And I really loved how, things could have gone a little bit more romantic, but obviously it is a Christian book. So they had separate hotel rooms, or Paul stayed, in the car or whatever. And there's a sweet little nod to It Happened One Night, which is one of my favorite rom-com movies ever. If you've never seen it, you need to watch it. It's so cute. It's a cute story of family and forgiveness. And it did take me a little while to get into it, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to, dive into characters' lives a little bit more before you get invested into the characters. But by the end, I was invested in what happened to each of the characters. So I will tell you though, this book has a lot of triggers, just so you know. Janine Rosche does not shy away from hard topics, so just be prepared going in. She actually does have a note here. At least she did in the audiobook, so I was listening to the audiobook. Yes, so it was nice in her author note at the back here. She does say sensitive topics of dementia, the Samoan adoption scandal of the early 2000s, the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, the Tulsa Race Massacre, the realities of Jim Crow and racism, parental kidnapping, post-traumatic stress disorder, as far as veterans and assault. I think that's everything. Yes, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned those for those of you going into this, just to be prepared for any of those trigger warnings. Normally, if there's a very light trigger warning, sometimes I don't mention it, but though that was a lot, so I wanted to make sure you were prepared for that. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will link this book down below where you can check it out and purchase it from Baker Bookhouse. Thank you to Baker and Ravel for sending me a copy of this book to read and talk about with you all. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.